Okay, let's go over side control and the positions for on top and how they relate to the person on the bottom. I'm just going to go through it. Some of the people I've explained to before this, but I'm going to go over it again. We've got 3 orientations for positions for crossbody side control. We have red light, we have orange light or amber light, and we have green light. Okay, so red light is where the person is around your hips and they're down like this. Okay, this position, they're basically going to control your hips. They can't attack, and that's why I call it red light, because red light means don't attack for the person on top. So when I'm here, if I go for a Americana, Dan's able to push my elbow and escape really easily because I'm in this red light position. Okay, orange light, amber light is the same sort of idea. So as I start to shift up, I'm in orange light, so my chest to chest pressure is not really up here, I'm right in the middle, right on his solar plexus. If I go here to attack, the same dilemma happens again, the same problem. I mean, he can start pushing me when I'm here. But if I'm in green light where we've got chest to chest pressure and I'm right up here on top of his shoulders and I'm pinning him down, as I start to go, he can't do the same thing. I can really get into that Americana from here, or I can start to submit. So the purpose of the person on top is to basically transition up the body. So you need to realize if you're on top in side control and you're here by the hips in red light, you need to go up, okay? If you're here on the bottom and you want to keep them by your power center, by your legs so you can bridge and hip escape, you want to keep them down here. For the person on the bottom, there are different scenarios or different escapes or different techniques you can use depending on the relation of where your partner is. So if the person is here in red light, he can load me on the hips, bridge, hip escape, put his knees in. If I'm here in orange light, he can do the similar sort of thing, but his arm's within 90 degrees, so it makes it a little bit difficult. So he'd have to do something a little bit different, which we'll look at. And if he's in green light, I'm nowhere near his hips, so if Dan bridges here, he's not really going to affect me quite as much as if I'm on top of his hip, okay? And especially if I'm here holding him down, he goes and bridges. You can see I'm moving, but I'm still got control. I'm not being affected quite as much, and it's a little bit more difficult for him to get his legs in. So what we'll look at is these different positions and the different solutions. There's also 3 orientations of the arms that we'll look at for crossbody side control. Well, there's actually 4. The 4th one we don't use because it's stupid, but there's 3 that we look at. So if I'm in green light here, just move down a little bit. If I'm in green light, I have crossbody, so I'm on both knees, okay, and I have position 1. I like to call position 1 where I have an underhook and a cross face. So my arm is here and I'm here. This is a control position. I can attack, but not very well. I have to move to something else to be able to attack. So position 1, crossbody side control. Position 2, crossbody side control, is where I have 2 arms on the other side of his body. Now he's in a deficit, meaning I have 2 arms being able to attack his arms. This is position 2. I can lift him up, I can get here, control, and I can start attacking. Position 3 is where it's a combination of position 1 and 2. It's a control position, but I use it to transition to get into north-south. So it's where I have one arm here and the other one is blocking the hip. So now he can't put his knee in effectively, and I can start moving to go into north-south. Those are the 3 positions of the arm. Each of those, again for the person on the bottom, has different solutions for each of those. There are some crossover, but you're going to notice that there's going to be different things, different problems at each one, or with different dilemmas that each one gives. There are 3 positions for our legs. There's crossbody side control, there's forward facing side control, which is case Katami, long leg, short leg, and then there's backward facing side control, which is the same but facing the legs. Long leg here, short leg. Within those, there are also different arm orientations as well. In forward facing, if I have this direction, it depends on where his elbow is. Is his elbow here on under my leg, or is the elbow here tucked into my hip? Also this arm. Do I have this arm, or do I have his head and I'm in a scarf hold, okay? Again, that offers different dilemmas for the person on the bottom, and it gives me different attacks for the person on top. If I'm facing the legs and I'm doing backward facing side control, I'm going this way, there's different variations on this as well. Is my arm under his armpit? Is my arm over his arm this way? Or is my arm by his head? So there's 3 orientations here. Still the same idea, okay? It also depends on what he's doing with his arm. If you're doing 10th planet style system, they have twister side control where you're actually sitting up on top of their arm, okay? They call this twister side control because they're looking to pull that leg down and start getting into twisters and birimbolos and all sorts of cool stuff. Over these videos that I'm going to be releasing, we're going to look at each of these positions, each of the issues, the different dilemmas it gives you, and then also how to solve those problems. As I said, you're going to have a lot of crossover in a lot of these positions. There's going to be a lot of same techniques that work in one position that will work in another, but some will offer very specific dilemmas that you'll have to be able to solve. This is how we look to escape, and hopefully this helps some people out. Okay, so we're going to go through each of the problems. The first thing we're going to look at is red light. So red light meaning the person is over my hips. The first thing we'll look at is our basic bridge and hip escape. So, my partner is here, he's in crossbody side control. I'm here on top, he's on top of me. I'm going to make sure that I keep him on top of my hips. So my left arm has to stay beyond 90 degrees. My left elbow is in on the inside of my ribs, not pushing his hip, it's keeping on the inside, and I'm just cupping the top of his shoulder. The reason I do this is I hold the top as well, is I don't want Dan to jump up to knee on belly. So I hold him and pull him back down. If it's no gi, I can do the same thing. Now my left foot is going to switch outside of my hip line, so that's going to direct my energy to push towards. I'm going to turn my other foot down a little bit. So Dan's here. Now I'm going to bridge and look in the direction I want to direct my power. So I go like this. Pull. I hip escape in the air with my bum's in the air. Slide back. My knee dive bombs down into the gap. And then I use that to open up. And then I can start looking to get into a guard. Okay, so I can start getting into cross lapel, or I can start getting to an open guard. So he's here, I'm in this position, holding in tight, got my connection, I turn my foot out, and then I bridge into him, and then slide my knee down into the space. I don't want my knee across his tummy, because Dan can heel hook me from there. I want it down here, where I can use that to open him up, and start looking to get to an open guard. We're not focusing on the end position as such, it's just I'm trying to get my spinal alignment, I'm trying to get my legs in front of my partner, because I'm in a bad position here. Okay, one more time, a bit speed this time. Okay, that's the first one. We'll go through the others. When you're in red light, one of the common problems that will happen is the partner will switch to a forward-facing side control. Because you've got your frame stopping them from going up to go from orange light and then into green light, because they want to move up the body to attack, they will start to basically turn their hips and face towards me. So when Dan's here, like this, he knows he can't do anything, he can't climb up, because I've got really strict frames. He turns into forward-facing. When he does that, my left hand's going to come across and find the inside of his bicep, in between where his bicep and his forearm meet, right here in the nook of his arm. I'm going to bring my elbow up, keeping my foot based, put my elbow down on the floor, and then come up. From here, I can now use my legs to go against his weak arm. So I keep this stiff arm, and just make sure it's straight, don't have it bent, and then I hip escape, and then bring my knee through. From here, I can now start getting into a guard, but he's kind of caught in a compromised position from here. So he's here, he switches to forward facing, I stiff arm, go elbow up. Now, I can go on my elbow, I can go up to my hand, but I have to make sure that I've got counter pressure, okay? But again, it's my hips versus his arm. I'm always gonna hip escape, and then I'm up, and he can fall down into an arm bar, or if he's gonna try and fight, I'll end up getting into that position. So that's stiff arming out. The important thing is making sure your arm is straight, and you're creating a structure and a frame to be able to stop the person from going into you. If you bend your arm, you're then using your muscles, and then you're gonna get really tired. If you're like me, you've got little baby muscles. Sometimes if you feel you can't sit up and use that stiff arm off the Heisman idea and get up on your elbow from if they go forward facing, what you can do is create, like basically use your frames and then start getting underneath him to roll him over. So Dan is here and I've got my frames, he's on top of my hips. he switches to forward facing. Now, I'm keeping my arms in front of him. And I want to imagine that there's basically a wall in front of him that his head can't come forward. I'm gonna put my feet on the floor and I'm gonna bridge. Now I can't allow Dan's head to come forward because if he does that, he's gonna crush me, right? So I'm gonna keep these frames and keep him so he basically goes directly up. So I bridge up. Now I step in and I go underneath and I'm trying to get my knee under his butt, okay? From here I can start sidewinding under and then roll him over, okay? Just get tighter against my hip when you do that. So I'm in here like this. He goes to forward facing, I'm keeping my frames. I'm bridging up. My left foot goes to my right, so it steps in, and my right knee goes under his butt here. So he's basically on top of my leg. Keeping my frames here, now I start sidewinding underneath, and he's gonna roll over, and I'm gonna end up on top of him. If you have a look here, just looking at the leg position, I'm here, I go up, I bring my foot across, and then I slide my knee underneath. Now I bring my foot in, and I start sidewinding underneath. All the time, keeping my frames in front of him, so he can't come forward. He's gonna be on top of my leg. This one, probably one of the ones that you wanna be doing with somebody in your own weight class a lot of the time, but generally, it's pretty easy to do. But yeah, you gotta choose your battles. Okay, looking again at cross-body side control, so we looked at forward facing just for a couple ideas, but one of the things that might happen is the partner will go cross-body and then try to attack your arm because they're in from red light. They don't realize they can't do it. One of the things you'll need to be aware of is how to defend that, okay? So, Dan is here and he thinks he's gonna catch a kimura on me, Americana, sorry. He thinks he's gonna get an Americana. So he brings his elbow around, so he goes to position 1 and he goes to grab my wrist to start pushing it down. Well, I don't know what you're doing. There we go, and go to an Americana. Excellent. There's a brown belt. I'm not doing an Americana correctly. That's all right, we're gonna keep that in there. So, he's here this way. He brings the arm over, he goes to the wrist, and he goes for an Americana, okay? Now, if I'm sleeping on this, I'm gonna get caught. I'm stupid if I get caught by that. So, as he goes around, I'm tracking his elbow, go for it, and then I stiff arm and come up on my elbow. So I'm basically shoving him down to my hips. From here, I bring my feet together, I hip escape, and now straighten up from that position, okay? So he goes for it, I'm gonna feel that energy and stiff arm again, the other arm this time. When we did forward facing, it was this arm, now it's that. I'm using that same energy to get up on my elbow, basically Heismaning him over, stiff arming over, and then I'm hip escaping back. So again, he's here like this, he reaches to grab that, I go here, find his elbow, and I push it down to my hips and come up to my elbow. Now from here, I could come up on my hand if I want to. I'm just gonna bring my feet together and butt scoot, and now I've got my legs in front of him. I was in a shitty position, now I'm in a less shitty position. With that, again, the same with the stiff arm, making sure you keep your arms straight, so using structure, don't have it bent, because otherwise they'll drive back into you and compress it. But you have to have, this is a really good timing move, so you have to have a lot of sense to feel when he's gonna go for that. But we know that they're gonna think about Americana because of the position of the arm. Okay, next one. They're looking to attack you again because they're a silly goose, and they're gonna attack you with a kimura instead of an Americana this time, because they're maybe good at doing kimuras. So what we're gonna do is look at what happens there. We're gonna defend that again in a similar way, but this time we're gonna use our legs. So, Dan's here, and if you guys will obviously look at kimuras if you haven't done it before, he's in red light, he's a silly goose, he goes for an kimura. Grabs my wrist, goes like that, now I'm in trouble, right? Figure 4, it's all over. So, when he starts to go through, he needs to grab this with that hand. As he goes through that, I'm bringing my knee on the inside. Don't knee him on the face too, by the way. I'm tempted to, but don't do it. I'm trying to get my knee on the inside, and I use that to break that open. Now from here, if he's even stupider, he's gonna keep his arm in between. I can bring my leg around and start looking to get a reverse triangle from there, okay? If I want to, but at least I've stopped it. What will generally happen is if he goes for this, go, boom, I'll just break it and then we'll restart again, okay? And he'll start from that position. So he goes for it, then I just break it, okay? I'm looking to just take it away. But if I do end up with that reverse triangle, boom, here, I can start looking to attack this arm with a cutting arm bar. I can bring it to that side and start kimuraing him as well back, because he done messed up. So again, they're in red light. They don't understand the concept of red light, that you shouldn't be attacking somebody from there. They go for an Americana, they go for a kimura. We have our defenses, we have our ways to escape. Okay, now we're moving up to orange light. We've looked at red light with those positions on the bottom. Those are some of the common things. Don't stress. There's more. There's lots more techniques. Those aren't the only answers, but I want to give you guys a TLDR of these basic ideas. Too long, did not listen. Okay. We're in orange light now. A lot of the same techniques you do in red light work in orange light. The same defenses for when they go for an Americana and kimura work. Exactly the same things. And you can also bridge in, because they're still within your hips, and you can put your knee in. And we haven't looked at the underhook stuff. We're basically focusing on the jiu-jitsu style escapes. I'll be looking at the wrestling ones soon as well. So now we're looking for orange light when we're going to try and get our knee in. As I said, you can still bridge in, but it's not quite as effective because my arm is within 90 degrees, okay? It's not all the way here where I'm loaded on the hips. I'm kind of caught here. And I'm not in green light. He's on my solar plexus, okay? What I want to do is lift my foot up and have my foot higher than my knee, and I'm trying to find where his hip is with my thigh, okay? Now, because he's less pressure on my hips, I have more mobility. So I can actually start bridging and hip escaping a little bit, bridging and hip escaping, and now you start to see my knee is starting to find that space that I want to get into, and that allows me to open up, okay? So I'm here and I'm tracking. The reason why I do this too is it's really difficult for Dan to go to mount. So if he tries to bring his leg over to go to mount, I can just stop it with my leg. It's a lot different from doing this, and never do this. Don't put your foot on your knee, because Dan can just reach over and grab my foot and then pull my foot to my knee and explode my knee. Okay? I'm just gonna hold here and just feel. Because he's in red light, he's in orange light, so I know where he is. He's not going anywhere. Now I just shift my foot out and I use that so I can get on my side. The more I get on my side, I can start sliding my knee into that space. Now from here I can open up, and I've got attacks here, I've got the ability to get to guard. I can go to close guard, I can go to butterflies or whatever. So, Dan's gonna put a bit of pressure on, I'll show you what it looks like. So I'm here. Lots of little movements, not one big movement, lots of little movements. So you're trying to use that thigh to track and figure out where his hip is, and you're dive bombing in. You won't be able to do it with your foot lower than your knee. Actually, I'll show you that really quickly. If my foot is lower than my knee, and I try and do the same thing, it's not gonna work, because my hips won't allow it to happen. I have to have my foot higher, which will allow me to open my hips and dive bomb that in. I can't just slam it in with my foot. My knee is higher than my foot, okay? I have to have my foot higher than my knee. You gotta slide this through. It's a sneaky little thing that you can use in a lot of different positions, and it does work from red light as well. You're gonna see a lot of crossover. A lot of these techniques work in different positions, but it's your job to sort of feel it, fling shit at the wall and see what sticks. All right, one of the things that will happen in orange light, unlike red light, is with red light, the person will go to forward facing and try and force their way up to get to green, up to make their way up to the upper body. With orange light, what they'll do is they'll turn back to face your legs. So they'll do backward facing side control, and they'll try and walk backwards and get into mount from there. That's one of the common things. They can't kind of do that effectively from red light because they'll feel they can just shove them off. So they'll try to do it from orange light and green light. So these techniques actually work for green light too, moving up. So what I mean is Dan's here, and he'll bring this arm over, and remember I could Heisman here too, by the way, as he goes through, but he'll go like that, right? So what'll happen is he's gonna be facing my legs, and my arm, I've got to make sure it's not here because I'm gonna get caught by kimura, but he's gonna be able to bring his leg over the top, put his foot on the floor, and then go into mount, okay? So just go back to that position. Again, remember I said there was 3 orientations with the arms. One here, one where my arm is trapped here, and one where he's there, okay? If it's this one and this one, I'm cupping the top of his shoulder, okay? So if he's here by my head, I'm cupping the top of his shoulder. But let's just say for argument's sake, he hasn't quite got this far up. He's kind of here. I'm gonna hold his shoulder. If it's this direction, this is okay. It's harder for him to get to mount, but I can deal with this. The same idea, the same technique will work for this. This is a timing move. I'm gonna wait for his leg to come over. I'm gonna listen for the noise of when his foot hits the floor. When it hits the floor, I'm gonna bridge over my right shoulder at a 45 degree. So I'm holding his shoulder, I'm holding his hip with his hand, so he can't move there, and I can feel when I'm holding his hip when his leg's gonna start to move. I'm gonna preset my feet, so I'm turning my knees towards him. So as he brings his leg over, I'm bridging and rolling over and getting into close guard. Come this way. So, when they're this way, he's holding my hip. You have to listen to the foot hitting the floor. Because if Dan does it now, I'm gonna be able to stop it. You have to have it, the person's committing to mount. So when they come over, there's a certain point for when that foot goes that this left leg is gonna be light. So as I go over, there. Now he can bridge and roll me, okay? The timing of it is you have to wait for that foot to touch. There's a certain tipping point. You can't go early, you have to wait. It's the just right, it's the Goldilocks sort of thing. So I'm holding his hip, he brings the leg over, boom. So I went a smidge early on that, but because I commit to the bridge, I still get it. Okay? Here like this, they switch to go to that. Okay, they're gonna go, I'm gonna go to mount. Sometimes they walk backwards to open this arm up, to give themselves more real estate. They're gonna bring that foot over. As it comes over, go. And then I'm gone, all right? It's a good one to practice. It's a good timing move. And that is like a basic mount way for people to get to mount. In a lot of the Gracie systems and a lot of jiu-jitsu schools do it. I don't teach people how to mount that way. I still have to teach you how to do it so you can kill it, because other people do. But if you're gonna mount somebody, don't mount like that because of that reason. Okay, so the next idea is they go to mount, and let's just say that I've not been eating my Wheaties and I'm a weak baby boy and I can't bridge effectively, or my technique is weak. What I can do is actually start to look to get back exposure for when they bring that leg over. So Dan goes this side now, and hopefully he doesn't flash the camera of his butt crack when we go here. So he's going backward facing now, and I'm in this position. I'm holding his shoulder, I'm holding his hip, okay? I'm gonna preset my leg so my knee is pointing towards him, and this leg's gonna go down. And I'll show you from the other way so you can see it, because you probably can't see it from here. When Dan goes to bring that over, I'm gonna grab his leg on the outside, and now I'm gonna slide my knee underneath. I can start wiggling out, and from here, as soon as I get back exposure, I reach and grab his leg. And now I can sit up and start taking his back. I don't want it that he can turn towards. One of the perks of holding the shoulder is now it makes it really difficult for him to come back. So if I'm up like this, he can't bring his arm backwards now. It's really hard for him to bring his arm back across my body. I can start getting up and start taking his back from here. Go again from this angle. Okay, go from there. So he's here like this. I've got the hip. He goes through, and I go under the leg and start sitting through and coming out. From here, I've now got back exposure, and he's in a lot of trouble. So if we go from this angle, look at the leg orientation. I'm going to have this leg, and I'm going to try and turn this down as much as I can. It could be harder to say. He could be driving his hips in and trying to keep that on. That's fine. As he goes to bring, I'm just going to straighten that leg, and now I bring him underneath, and then come out the back door. Okay? I'm waiting for him to come over. So basically, going out and getting that back exposure. It's if your arm, let's say he's got the arm orientation where I have both arms there and I'm not controlling his shoulder like I am if he's in the other two positions for backward facing, he will be able to turn backwards. So he'll be able to turn this arm back. So if he's over here and I'm like this, go backward facing, on your elbow, no, go back, on your elbow, yeah, thank you. So here, I'm not able to hold his shoulder, so I'm holding his hip. As he brings that leg over, I can still get this, but he's able to get this arm back quickly. I'm gonna end up in half guard, okay? That's fine. Half guard's better than side control every time. I can start looking to attack from here easily. So just realize that if you haven't got one of those other two positions from backward facing side control, that is one of the problems you're going to hit. You're going to hit this idea that the person is going to be able to turn back. But I can kind of counter that if I get back exposure quickly. My job is once I get underneath and grab him as quickly as I can. Okay, one of the things that are going to happen is the partner might not go backward facing and bring that leg over. They might just put the knee on the tummy and slide the knee through and put it down onto the floor and look to get to mount. So what I mean is, Dan's here like this, he just puts his knee on my stomach and he slides his knee across and then ends up in mount from that position. Go back. So, if I feel his knee start to come up, I'm gonna turn my leg and face the other way. So now as he's coming through, his foot's gonna fall into that hole. Now I can use my elbow to get myself back to half guard, okay? So again, I was in a bad position. I was about to be in a worse position, but now I'm kind of got him where I can counter that, okay? So he starts to bring that through. I turn my knee, bring my knee up, and his foot's gonna fall in there. Now my job is to use my elbow. Don't use your hand, you lose your arm. Use my elbow, and then start looking to get to that position, okay? The other thing too is he might do knee on belly, and as he's, no, go back down, same thing. So he goes to do that. As he goes to do that position, he starts to slide his knee through. I can bridge, go, and look over. So I can actually use the same thing, the same bridge and roll idea that I used before for backward facing, as I can use for him sliding his knee through. So when he goes to start sliding his knee through, as he's coming there, sliding through, go, boom, I time it for when he feels that weak leg. He has to commit, meaning his knee has to start going to the other side of his body to be able to time that bridge and roll. I won't be able to do that if he's sort of floating on knee on belly. I have to wait for him to commit to go to mount. So you just have to be wary of the position of your partner. Again, these positions that work within orange light also can be in green light. So you're starting to notice it's moving up. The same sort of problems. And you'll see cross-pollination of all the techniques from each of the positions. Okay, let's, as I said, there's a lot of cross-pollination of the different techniques, meaning things that work in red light work in orange light, and they will sometimes work in green light. So it's your job to find out what's there and how they work. In green light, I'm going to show you I'm going to show you multiple things, but the first thing I'm going to show you is this idea of getting their head over my center line, get it to the other side. So he's in green light now, so he's right up on my chest. He's nowhere near my hips. I can bridge and he's not going to go anywhere. I can bridge into him and it's not going to happen, right? So he's really crushing me here, and my arms are isolated. He can start attacking quite easily. So I'm going to keep my head down. So now I've got a bit of reprieve on his arm. I'm keeping this in tight and I'm holding. I can hold the gi here. What I want to do is grab the top of his trap and pull it down, and now I'm going to lift my elbow up. But I'm not lifting my arm up. I'm not doing this. I'm not shoving him off. I'm lifting my elbow up. And watch what happens to Dan's head. It's going to go over the top of my head. Okay? It's going up and over. What that does is, look at how much real estate he's now given me here. It's hard for me to just slide my knee in unless I've got crazy flexibility. So one of the things I'll do is I'm going to lift both my knees. And again, keeping my foot higher than my knee. I don't have to go straight leg this time, just keeping it higher. So I'm here, I lift it up, I bring both knees up. Now I just dive bomb it in. Okay? I'm trying to find that space. The reason I use both knees is if I try to bring my knee in with one leg, I don't have much movement on that. I can bring it in a little bit, but it's not quite as good as that. See how much more? I get like an extra 6 or 7 inches, which we all fucking need. Maybe 2 or 3 inches. I go into that, where I bring that leg through, okay? So up and in. So he's here, I've got him tight, I'm holding his shoulder, I'm holding in here, he's in green light, I've got to make sure he's not going to attack me. I lift his head over my head. Now I can sidewinder a little bit if I want to and bring both knees up and slide in. If you just say, oh sorry, choking poor Dan, his poor little ferret, you okay? You alright, my little poppet? Okay. Up high in green light, here like this. I'm just too strong for my own good, I can't help it. So, don't lift away this time. I lift up, I lift his head over, and then I slide both knees in. From here you can see I've got this arm isolated, I've got the open guard. I was in a bad position, now I'm in a better position. But the idea is lifting his head over my head and getting it to the other side so I can start escaping is really, really important. And that actually works in a lot of different positions. You're going to see a lot of crossover from everywhere else. One of the things I said in the longer video at the start was about the different positions of the arms and the legs and everything, and the orientation of everything. Remember I mentioned red light, orange light, green light, but also mentioned within crossbody side control, there is 3 arm positions. There's 4, we don't use the 4th one, it's the cursed one, it doesn't work. Position 1 is what we've been kind of looking at, the underhook crossface. Now with that position, as I mentioned, it's a control position. So we're going to look at green light, because green light's kind of the one where these positions really, really make a big difference. In the other ones, not so much, because you can Heisman out of it, same as if they go for the an Americana, and you don't really have to worry about them attacking quite as effectively from red light or orange light. But in green lights, where we have to really know what orientation our partner's arms are in. So if Dan's here in position 1, here like this, position 1, crossbody, and I've got my arms here, the danger here is he's not attacking me, he's just holding me. I have to be aware of the crossface, this sucks. I have to be aware of my arm orientation. If my elbow's out, I'm in trouble, I'm keeping my elbow in, and now I'm holding him here, okay? When this becomes dangerous for me is when he brings it over and goes to position 2. Now I'm in trouble, especially if he's in green light, because I can't do the Heisman effectively. If he goes for an Americana here, I can't stop this. Even if my arm's here, go, I can't push that effectively, because he's really putting a lot of weight on my chest and he's flattening my shoulders out. Remember, for that to work, I have to be able to push him down to my hips. He's right up here. So, if I'm in this position here and my arm's there and he goes to position 2, I'm going to switch and put my arm on the other side. Okay? Now he can't get the Americana, which is always a quick kill. The danger now from here is one of 2 things. He can do an up and crush and bring my elbow across. Okay? Or he can start trying to hit the kimura from here. So he can start going to that. Okay? Now I know those are the problems, I can solve it. Okay? If he does an up and crush, bring your elbow down. So go for the up and crush. I just bring my elbow down to the floor. Go, as hard as you can. Hard, pick me up. He's gonna lift me because I'm driving my elbow down. It's really hard for him to do an up and crush if I'm bringing my elbow down to the floor. So I have to be sensitive to feel what's going on there. Not sensitive like my feelings and stuff and what I feel about during the day, but I mean sensitive in terms of feel what he's going to do, all right? Now, I've solved that problem. That also solves the kimura. And how do I solve the kimura? I do a reverse crossface on him. So I reach underneath and I grab, okay? And I'm holding him here. Now you can see Dan doesn't feel very comfortable, okay? I've almost got him in an arm triangle here. But now his ability to do a kimura is gone, and his ability to do Americana is gone. And Dan's probably, he won't go to sleep, but he doesn't feel that great. I'm going to use the same thing I did from green light from when I lifted his elbow. We used my elbow to lift his head over my head, but I'm going to do it with my arm. I'm basically going to punch my arm over, and now bring it over. Keep your arm on the other side to that. Now I bring both knees up, and I slide it into the space. Okay? This also works if he's in position 1, crossbody side control, and my arm is caught on this side. I do a reverse crossface here. Now I just lift his head over my head and slide my knees in. It's exactly the same thing, okay? The same technique. As I said, there's a lot of crossover. I like that one problem, one technique solves multiple things. Here, reverse crossface, giving him tight. I'm gonna pull his head using my shoulder over my head. Even if he's fighting this, fight it. He's not gonna be able to stop this. Now I can use both my knees, lift both my knees to slide in, and now I've got him and he's in a whole lot of hurt from here. This is one of the common problems that happen for them to be able to attack, is they go 2-on-1, so your arm is in a deficit so they can attack, or they just get that crossface and sit there and try and drive it in. Use the reverse crossface on the bottom to make it miserable for them, and then you can start to escape. You don't need a gi to do this, by the way. You can do this with no gi. Just grab a chunk of lat, put your fingers under their armpits and get a good chunk of them, and just yank them in, all right? Be aware though of that up and crush. Be aware of their ability when your elbow's away for them to pull your arm and bring it across your arm, center line. So what I mean is, Dan was doing it, but I'll show you here because I like up and crushing him, is that, okay? be aware of this. This is not good because I can move north-south, I can start attacking. I just sometimes turn the face and I start attacking like that. All right, so it's pretty miserable position to get caught on. All you have to do is pull the elbow down. Use your back muscles so they will lift you up. You want to make your partner, even when they're on the top, work to get what they want. Because you're cooking your dinner before you eat it. Meaning you're making them work. Even when you're on the bottom and you're in a bad position, you can still win a fight. All right, so the next thing is what I call anti-Jiu Jitsu. It's where you don't actually do Jiu Jitsu and you just sit there and don't do anything. There's a couple of positions, and Prick Mickelson, who's a genius, he does a lot of different things. I may show you some of his stuff, I may not. He does the hawking, the running man, and some panda, and some, he's doing sideways chicken or whatever he's called it now. He's got some great positions. Yeah, sideways grilled chicken and grilled chicken. It's some amazing things. But it's what I call anti-jitsu because you're not actually doing anything. You're just kind of chilling out and waiting for the person to make a mistake to escape, and it works. So one of the ones I like to use is I know that he's on this side, he's going to attack this arm. And this works really well in no-gi because you don't have to worry about chokes as much. So I'm going to hold my hand and keep my elbows in. So now Dan is going to try to attack me from here. Go. So he has to go to gi. He has to go to the gi because he can't attack me any other way. That's fine. So now I've directed traffic. I know what he's going to think about doing. But all I'm doing is holding my hand here, keeping it in, and holding my hand to my chest. Because I know he has to attack this arm. If I'm going this way, he can attack this arm. So I go here. I'm keeping my elbows into my body. I'm telling my elbows to come home. I'm just staying here and feeling. So he can do whatever he wants, and I'm going to stay here. It's even hard for him to get an effective crossface. Go. Get a crossface. 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 Crossface, yeah. Go, 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 hard. It's difficult. It's gonna suck. I'm not doing any jiu-jitsu, but it creates opportunities. I like to get underhooks, so now I can start escaping. Or he's gonna do something else. He's gonna change the position. But I'm just sitting here waiting. Keep my elbows in, just staying here all day. The problem with this is, I'm not doing jiu-jitsu. He's doing all the jiu-jitsu. He's not really doing jiu-jitsu. It's the same as somebody that sits in position one crossbody and just holds you down and doesn't do anything. Just stays there. They're not doing jiu-jitsu. They're just staying there. So you don't need to escape. You just stay and wait. You're like, cool, you stay there. You chill out, I'll chill out. Because they're waiting for you to make a mistake. They're waiting for you to cook yourself. You're the dinner this time. They're waiting for you to make something happen so then they can get it. I'll just go, nah, cool, we're gonna stay here for a while. That's all right. I'll just think about what I'm gonna cook for dinner tonight. Literally cook for dinner or something else. So this anti-jiu-jitsu is this idea of denying things. The problem is though, it takes away the freedom of jiu-jitsu and the play and the fun energy that I like to promote. The fact that, you know, this happened. So get caught. I give you permission to fail. I give you permission to make mistakes. Go for something, get caught, get submitted, that's fine. You're not losing, you're winning because you're actually getting good problems. You're learning by your mistakes.